Budget season, it's underway in Washington. The first pitch, it came from the White House as President Trump's first federal budget blueprint. Now, it's not just a description of what Trump wants to spend on and what he wants to cut. What it also does is highlight what are priorities for this new administration and what's not. Now, the president, he's seeking $54 billion in spending cuts to be offset by $54 billion in spending, primarily on defense, immigration enforcement, and, of course, that border wall. Now, those are clearly his priorities. So what aren't his? Well, and also who will they be impacted by these proposed cuts? Well, the Trump budget, it would gut the home heating subsidy, which helps low-income Americans heat and cool their homes. More than 8 million people, as a frame of reference, took part in this program in 2014. Home weatherization, another program for low-income families, also benefiting the home improvement industry since their products, they're used by those who benefit from the program. Trump also wants to eliminate the Senior Community Service Employment Program. That's a long way of saying it's a program that assists and helps train people 55 and older to try and find jobs. Last year, the program helped 70,000 older Americans who worked 36 million job hours with a total value of almost $1 billion in labor to businesses, or double what the program actually costs. Let's go to climate change. Trump budget, it would eliminate all U.S. programs that study and seek to prevent climate change. It would also cut all of the funding to UN programs that research climate change, and putting aside the green jobs this funding helps create, the impact of the cuts, it would hit everybody on the planet. That's about 7 billion of us. Now, the White House budget would also gut OSHA training grants. That's money that helps train workers to identify and help remedy workplace hazards, helping workers prevent injuries, and also helping employers prevent workplace injury lawsuits and injury-related time off. Now, a series of grants offered by the Office of Disability Employment helps disabled Americans train for and even find work, but it won't if the Trump proposal to eliminate those grants are approved. Also on the Trump chopping block, the Job Corps and job training centers for disadvantaged children. Jobs Corps alone trains about 37,000 young people every single year, leading to careers or to even continued education. Now, even if you'd never heard of the National Institutes of Health, you've probably benefited from it. The NIH supported research that broke the genetic code. It helped to fight diseases, including some cancers and heart disease, mental illness, and the creation of vital drugs. NIH-funded programs, they have won more than 80 Nobel Prizes, and the Trump budget, it would cut the NIH by more than a fifth. The Chemical Safety Board, it would get the axe also under this budget proposal. What it does is it investigates chemical accidents which help workers, the public, and of course the environment. Other programs in the block that would help Americans homeless, economic development in struggling communities, students and teachers in high-risk communities. They'd privatize the air traffic control system, think about that one, and they'd also got a slew of cultural and arts programs, from the theater to art galleries, libraries, even public television. And you may have heard the president's budget seeks to eliminate the Meals on Wheels program. That's about 2.5 million Americans on low income, seniors, disabled, shut-ins who rely on the program, which serves about 218 million meals every single year. So what we wanted to do was put a face on this particular program and get a first-hand account of how this would impact people in our area. And Stephen Pappas joins us. He's the director of the development for the Meals on Wheels program in Rockland County in New York. Stephen, thank you very much for the time. You know, I saw in a press conference a few days back when Sean Spicer was asked about Meals on Wheels, and he said, oh, it's a cute program. I gave some of the math, but be more specific for people who don't really know much about it. They may have heard of the name, but what's the kind of population it serves, and how critical is it for those people?
Well, Meals on Wheels of Rockland County, we service 4 different programs. We service home-delivered meals, 5 senior activity centers, an adult daycare center where we service individuals with Alzheimer's and dementia, and also an adult learning center where our seniors learn how to, among things, Skype with their grandchildren. So we have some cute parts, but we have a very serious population which are homebound and can't get meals if we weren't servicing them.
So to put a point on it, if Meals on Wheels isn't there, some people are going to go without food.
Absolutely. In our home delivered meals program, over 100 seniors would be without food. And then in our senior activity centers, over 500 seniors would not be able to get their daily meal because we provide them with a lunch, and sometimes they take food home, and that's their food for the day. Without that, they wouldn't be able to eat.
So if I got our president or his brain trust when they're figuring out which items should or shouldn't be on the chopping block, if they came by your office, let's say, or another Meals on Wheels that I'm sure you guys coordinate with, will they find tons of fat? Are people lying around and lazy boys here trying to, figure out what 5-course meal is going to be served here? Or are you guys running pretty much on a tight margin?
No, we are running on a very tight margin. We have a nutritionist on staff where our seniors get evaluated and assessed what their actual diet should be in order to have better health outcomes. They are living longer and better quality lives because they are eating our meals.
Are people scared, right now, by the prospect, even though this is at the proposal stage, if this gets put on the chopping block, and if this is even pared back, forget about eliminated, are people worried what the consequences are going to be?
Absolutely they are. We have individuals in our senior activity center. We have a 98-year-old woman who has been with our program for 20 years. Her friends, who have become her family here, they won't be able to see each other on a daily basis, and that interaction extends an older adult's life.
Put a face on this if you could. I know that certainly in the last election season, there was a lot of pitting between have-nots, people who won't get off their backsides, won't help themselves, if you will. We're talking about, in many cases, and you're better off than me, a vulnerable population. It's not that people want to rely on this program. They don't have a choice, right?
I'll give you an example. One of our homebound seniors who's on our home delivered meals program, Roger DeGraw, he is a senior citizen who is a World War II veteran. Went to interview him a couple months back just for our annual newsletter, and you could see in his home he has barely anything on the walls, very sparse living. Without the meals that we are providing, he wouldn't be able to provide for himself.
Last thing, I've seen since this story came out that nationally here, this program could lose significant funding, at least indirectly or directly from the feds. There's been contributions that have been coming in. In a perverse way, is that almost dangerous to say, well, you don't need us, see, rely on the charity of others and you'll be fine?
46% of our budget is reliant on either the federal funds or matching funds. Now, have people been generous? Absolutely. People are always generous to Meals on Wheels. Up to 46% of our budget? No.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. We're going to continue to follow this story here. But for one unsolicited opinion, one of the stupidest things I've ever heard, cutting a program that not only is needed but actually works. I wish you the best of luck, Stephen.
Thank you so much.
Up next, Oakland Raiders, they're moving again. First it was Los Angeles, this time Sin City, Las Vegas. And it is not about the fans, that much we can say for sure. This is about money and somebody else paying for a stadium.